Let's go. I'm about to share one insane Brian Kelly stat, and it is actually a good thing. We'll get to it in just a second. I promise your mind is about to be blown. But I think Ole Miss opened today as well. We'll get to that in just a second versus LSU. So lock in. It's the Sunday night live stream. Let's freaking go.
It's Power Hour LSU.
PHL, extra little bit of swag, an extra little bit of taste.
Yeah. Man, I'm headed to the field. Terror of the tiger, I'ma always keep it real. Everything gon' get devoured, it's the power. LSU with Carter, it's the power. LSU with Carter, man, I'm headed to the field. Terror of the tiger, I'ma always keep it real. Everything gon' get devoured, it's the power. LSU with Carter, it's the power. LSU with Carter, man.
So let's start with, to me, the biggest news of the day from an LSU perspective. They are underdogs versus Ole Miss. The Rebels, after one of the best performances so far this year in college football, went into a hostile South Carolina environment and beat them down 27-3. Now, that sounds like hyperbole, but you guys saw what happened this weekend. Vanderbilt was able to host Alabama, and they took care of business. Arkansas host Tennessee. They took care of business. And the fact that Ole Miss wins comfortably against a hungry Shane Beamer squad, and guess what? They got some quarterback luck to go their way as well. Man, that's pretty impressive if you ask me. That USC is a team that's lost again. South Carolina, a team that probably should have beaten LSU, has looked even worse in recent weeks. So you do begin to wonder if maybe people are really questioning LSU's strength up to this point. Obviously, LSU on the season, you take a look at the entire body of work. UCLA obviously is not that great of a team looking back in retrospect. So I think nobody is really respecting LSU, even though the SP Plus numbers look to be pretty good for LSU, and SP Plus is normally a pretty good indication of how the Las Vegas market reacts to everything and how they set their lines, okay? So, South Carolina, yes, you are right. Fantastic, a very undisciplined team. Lots of self-inflicted wounds, including their best player putting 12 bullets through Jackson Dart, and Jackson Dart responding with a Dolph lyric. I'm like, there you go, Jackson Dart. I didn't expect that out of him. But then again, this is a guy who's played every single game he's ever played in some Jordan 11. So really, it shouldn't come to no surprise that Jackson Dart knows young Dolph. So I think that's some wild news for Ole Miss. And I think that's also some interesting news for LSU, because before the season, the experts out west had only one game where LSU would be underdogs. And that game, surprisingly, was Texas A&M, who also looked really good this weekend. Had an interesting Twitter poll earlier today. I'll give you the results. What was the biggest thing from this weekend that concerned you? Is it that South Carolina and USC did not look good at all? And those have been the only two good teams that LSU has played up to this point. Is it the fact that Arkansas and Vanderbilt look losable now for LSU? You wouldn't have said that earlier in the season. You definitely wouldn't have said that before the season. Vanderbilt gets a bye week before they play LSU as well. Is it that Texas A&M? Are you kidding me? Did you see Texas A&M this weekend? With Connor Wigman, I've told you guys, Connor Wigman's good. Don't buy into the negativity. This guy can play. Is it Texas A&M that concerns you? You let me know, okay? Now, I had a tough weekend because I went on a pretty national show, and I gave out all wrong picks. Even though on my weekly Vegas radio spot in New Orleans, Fridays at 1:30 with my guy Mario and Casey, my lock was A&M over Missouri outright, and they took care of business. And that was actually my biggest play of the weekend. I also had Cal outright versus Miami. I won't get into that here. So Before we get into this Brian Kelly luck conversation, let's have a talk with Tony, Mick, Blaine. Sam, thank you so much for your super. First time super. Good to see you. The 843 is in here. 84, that looks like a New Roads backdrop right there. Good to see you. Brennan, Ryan, and everyone else. Good to see each and every one of you. Pretty freaking excited about Ole Miss this weekend. Now, I want to talk about luck. What is luck exactly? Well, we tend to not think of luck in a positive way. But y'all, every single successful coach is lucky. Nick Saban is lucky. The best coach of all time who is process-oriented, means over ends, process over results. He's lucky. He's lucky that Terry Saban convinced him to go to LSU. I mean, there's so many things. Every single coach, every single successful player that has ever existed has had one major lucky thing go in their direction. The best football player alive was lucky to be paired with Andy Reid. One of the best basketball players of all time, Tim Duncan, got drafted into Greg Popovich and the Spurs with David Robinson. I mean, there's 1,000 different things we could point to as luck. So understand what I'm about to share with you. It's not a negative to Brian Kelly. I honestly don't want to piss Brian Kelly off because he just followed me on Twitter. Apparently he likes what we're doing. And you guys know I am pro Brian Kelly. All right. I think for the most part, he has done about level of our expectations. He's probably not exceeded our expectations, but he's probably righted the ship in hopes of the 2025 and 2026 classes taking us to the next level. And on top of all of that, really excited about Jakeem Thanos Stewart reclassifying to 2025, and he can join what will be the best LSU recruiting class of all time. I'm not hyperbolizing that at all. This is the best recruiting class, and you're witnessing unfold right before your eyes. In the era of NIL where you can go anywhere and where everyone says LSU's behind on NIL, they're about to pull off the best recruiting class ever at the school. Better than Les Miles, better at Ed Orgeron, all of them. All right. Brian Kelly is partially responsible for the great Jaden Daniels. So what I'm about to share is not negative at all. But I have never seen this in my life. And this research that I'm about to share with you is actually something that started years ago when I started doing research on Brian Kelly. All right. So as many of you know, I do deep analytical film background searches on every single major coach that comes to LSU. So in other words, that includes head coaches and coordinators. All right. I lock myself in a room, pull up as much data as I possibly can. All right. I look up EPA margin, turnover. I mean, I look up as many things as I possibly can, but there are some things that analytics can't account for. So I reach out to people's opinions that I do trust. I reach out to quote unquote sources. I'm not really the insider type, but I mostly want to be the best thought-provoking analyst. And when I was researching BK, I had never seen this happen before for any coach. Now, I will preface what I'm about to share is kind of skeptical in its uniqueness because it would take me legit weeks, and I mean weeks, to discover if this trend is available for other coaches. So let's get into it. I know it was a big buildup, but I don't want anyone to take this as negative towards Brian Kelly. So a lot of you probably watched the Arkansas game last night, as did I. Arkansas and Tennessee are the two biggest schools on Power Hour SEC alongside Oklahoma. So obviously I wasn't able to fully watch the game. I DJ'd a wedding last night, but I got home. I was able to watch the full fourth quarter, and I stayed up until 4 a.m. doing film study. And what happened in the Arkansas game was pretty interesting. Their quarterback got hurt. So Taylon Green gets hurt, and their backup, Malachi Singleton, steps into the game. Now, Malachi Singleton, very talented backup, 4-star out of Georgia, but he's only a year 2 guy. And, you know, many thought it was one of the worst backup QB situations in the SEC going into this season. All right. So Taylon Green got hurt pretty bad. Okay. It was a lower body injury. Some feel it was kind of a cheap shot. It did look like it versus a player I like a lot, Norman Lott for Tennessee's a really good player. He hit him low while Taylor Green was in the pocket. Potentially could have been a penalty. And Taylor Green was out for the game. And he limped mightily afterwards. There's no way of knowing if he's going to be available for the LSU game. There's not. But it would not shock me if he was not available. Because Brian Kelly, for every single season dating back to the year 2018, has had a backup quarterback start the game for the opposing team. Now, how common is that? It's probably a little bit more common than one would like to think. But what's very interesting about it is more often than not, the backup quarterback who starts only starts for one game. Okay. So the starter comes back from injury. It's not a serious enough injury. So it's not the fact that you get the injury luck. It's that you also get the injury luck for that one game. So let's go through this together. Starts off, let's start with more recent years and then we'll go backwards. All right. So in 2024, Lenore Sellers, of course, earlier this season got hurt mid-game versus South Carolina. And the Gamecocks were winning 24-16. Now, does LSU still win this game if Lenore Sellers is the starting quarterback for South Carolina? It's a toss-up. It really is a toss-up. What we can say, though, without reasonable doubt, that Robbie Ashford wasn't as good in the game as Lenore Sellers was. You know, I don't think many would disagree with that. But the bottom line is there was only one explosive play touchdown, and that was a long Raheem Sanders touchdown in the second half. And guess what? Robbie Ashford goes out for the game, and the backup quarterback situation helped LSU win that game. So if that's the case, for the Arkansas game here in a few weeks, this would be the second time that it's happened in 2024. All right? So I think we're all on the same page here. All right? Let's move along to 2023. Now, once again, this is Army. LSU was blowing out Army with Jaden Daniels, regardless of who was at quarterback, okay? However, Bryson Daly was like a decent starter for Army. He goes out, and then zero-star Champ Harris comes into the game, and it was a zero-star true freshman going up against LSU. And ironically, that partially contributed to the Zy Alexander injury. I don't think Zy Alexander gets hurt if Bryson Daly was out there for Army. Now, that really doesn't mean anything, but you go to Texas A&M. Texas A&M, wow, not only did Connor Wigman get hurt early in the season, Max Johnson, the backup, also got hurt in a revenge game versus LSU, and he got hurt a few games before. Does Max Johnson play better than Ethan Henderson did in the game versus LSU? Probably not. The only reason LSU ended up winning this game anyway was because of Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels was phenomenal. The entire LSU offense outside of the running game was really good in this game. So still, you see basically the same thing, right? A lot of quarterbacks get hurt, and Brian Kelly, gets lucky and he plays a backup. We'll keep it going here in 2022. A lot of you remember this. LSU beats Alabama. The next week, they have to go to Fayetteville. And notice what happened here. KJ Jefferson missed only one game earlier in the season versus Mississippi State. And then versus LSU, he toughed it out versus Liberty. They lost. And then he wasn't able to play through injury versus LSU. And then the next week, he plays phenomenally versus Ole Miss and blows them out. Okay, so would LSU have still beaten Arkansas in Fayetteville on that icy field with a struggling offense and a lot of players with the flu if KJ Jefferson was the opposing quarterback? I don't know, right? It's just a big, big what if, right? Now, one could argue LSU got very unlucky that all their players or their key players, quite a few of the key players, got the flu. But still, you got some quarterback luck in this 2022 matchup, okay? So you see that this happens, okay? Cortland says, how much credit are we really giving KJ? I mean, do you remember the game? Their backup quarterback was Hornsby. He transferred to Texas State and was immediately the third stringer at Texas State. And then the other guy who stepped in was a walk-on. So it's not so much that KJ Jefferson wasn't good or bad. That was KJ Jefferson in the Browns offense where he was elite. And on top of that, the backup quarterback situation was abysmal. All right. So we go to 2021, and it happened a lot. Purdue had yet to replace Jack Plummer with Aiden O'Connell, who's in the NFL right now. And this wasn't quite an injury thing. It's just Purdue had not moved on from a bad quarterback to one that was very good. Aiden O'Connell didn't take over until after Notre Dame played Purdue. All right. 2021, they played Virginia when Brennan Armstrong was still good at Virginia. He got hurt before the Notre Dame game and came back the very next game. All right. And then Georgia Tech Jeff Sims, who really wasn't that good. Still, he comes back 2 games before Notre Dame and then comes back right after. As you can see, just some injury luck that went your way. And then you go to 2020. Same thing happened. Kenny Pickett out versus Notre Dame. Okay. As you can see, 2 games before the Notre Dame game. And he comes back the very next week. Now, does Notre Dame still beat the crap out of Pittsburgh? Probably so. These Notre Dame teams, by the way, 2020, 2021, they were really, really, really good. Okay. And once again, this really has nothing to do with Brian Kelly. It really doesn't. It's just we have gotten very lucky, or he has gotten very lucky with this quarterback stuff. All right. And we all know Kenny Pickett was a very good quarterback. He was probably better in 2021 anyway. Then we go to 2020. Notre Dame wins this double overtime game. DJ Uiagalelei still went off. He still played really, really, really well. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence played as well or would have played as well as DJU as a true freshman here. 439 yards is a lot of yards. But you see, Trevor was out for that game with COVID. And then in the rematch, Trevor lit him up and won the game pretty comfortably. So, once again, you have a bunch of QB luck here. Virginia Tech, Hendon Hooker, 2019. It happened again. Notre Dame won this game by 1 point. And you could see Hendon Hooker started every game when he took over as a starter, only missed this game versus Notre Dame, came back right after. Then we get to 2018. This is kind of a flimsy example, if you ask me. Notre Dame was going to win this game regardless, but Eric Dungy was a really good, experienced quarterback. He gets hurt early in the first quarter. Notre Dame was already winning 10-0, and ironically, true freshman Tommy Cutlett steps in, and as you know, Tommy Cutlett's ended up being a really good NFL quarterback, but he really wasn't ever good in college. Okay? So that's not a knock on Brian Kelly. Like I said, every single coach gets lucky. All right? Kirby Smart, who is the best coach in America, by far, he is the best coach alive right now. He was lucky enough to take over a Georgia job that had Sony Michel and a 10-win roster. Okay? So every coach has a trend like this. They just do. And this might pop up again for the Arkansas game here in a few weeks. And look, when you play the opposing team's backup quarterback, it helps. It helps mightily. Do I still think Arkansas can beat LSU with Malachi Singleton? I don't think so. I think they could beat LSU with Taylor Green. I don't think they could beat LSU with Malachi Singleton, especially with the way Taylor Green played this last game versus Tennessee. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal, the backup quarterback situation. So, if LSU were to catch that break, it would be a massive one. Now, obviously, the big story, Jackson Dart, who is fully healthy and ready to go, that's our main focus for the Ole Miss game. So it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. But like I said, that is not a negative. It's a positive, right? If you were to say, all right, and once again, I like playing teams at full strength. The competitive side of me, the competitive side of anyone would prefer to play a team that has full strength. But college football is about avoiding losses. And when the other team has to start their backup quarterback, and the other team's going to be starting their backup quarterback, it's a huge deal for the game plan. And what could be even worse is if your starting quarterback during the game gets hurt and you have to go to the backup. That's what made Arkansas's win even more impressive this past weekend, is that they were still able to get it done with the backup. So it's going to be interesting. I will also say this about BK. I do feel his best coach games have been the last couple of games. The USC debacle is in the rear view. I thought he did some good things versus South Carolina. I really did. And then, of course, we had the emergence of Caden Durham. That's really helped out. Will we get a fully healthy Caden Durham? We'll see how the foot is tomorrow with Brian Kelly. All right. Now, tomorrow, you will learn of some other injuries. I don't want to get into that. I normally, let the coach announce that. But the good news from that point of view is, we talked so much about injuries at the beginning here. Ole Miss has been really banged up as well. So there you go. Now, as always, I start off with an opening rant, and then we go to your super chats. Or you could join our PHL Patreon, patreon.com/LSU Football. You look at the last couple of seasons of the Lane Kiffin and Les Miles coach games. And it's been pretty good if you look at this from the Brian Kelly's vantage point. Ole Miss jumped out to a pretty large lead. Lane scripted some really good plays early, and we didn't really react to it the absolute best. And the funny thing about it was, man, early in the game, we missed out on some opportunities in 2022 to put 7 points on the board. And LSU's that you can make a strong case that the best coached game of the Brian Kelly era was Ole Miss in 2022. LSU made a crap ton of adjustments throughout the course of that game, right? Doing third down runs on third and medium, lots of zone read stuff. Ole Miss in that defense ran a lot of 3 safety looks. So when you run 3 safety looks, you want to honestly run underneath it, force them to have to bring that safety into the box. And Mason Taylor had a whale of a football game as a true freshman. And we just outcoached and outschemed them. And then obviously to the point where Lane Kiffin in the postgame presser was like, man, where was Harold Perkins at the beginning of the game? So, obviously we're not going to have Perk this year, but Brian Kelly really put it on him. And then last year was kind of the opposite, right? Lane had a really good game plan, right? You had that 4th down play call where Quinshon Judkins was wide open into the end zone. Chris Hilton had that early drop. Jaden had that fumble where he got absolutely blasted. A very weird game that kind of became a game more about Jaden's greatness of anything else, right? That was, dime here or dime there, all the way till the final throw where Jaden Daniels put it right on Chris Hilton. Obviously, we could have a conversation on the one rollout where Jaden could have thrown the ball to Malik. It was a little bit of a tougher throw when you look at it from multiple angles. We had a chance to put that game away. We weren't able to. But honestly, I can't, as ugly of a loss that was with 49 points scored, you can't really put that on Brian Kelly, right? Because the one deciding factor in that game, and it was one thing, it wasn't anything else. Ole Miss made some amazing football plays. Don't get it twisted, because you'll get labeled a hater otherwise if you don't say, hey, they did this and they did that or whatever. Okay? We did not tackle. We missed 30-plus tackles in that game, according to PFF. Now, missed tackles can be a very subjective thing, but man, we missed some tackles. And I will say that in the history of LSU football was the worst game a secondary has ever played. And we have had some stinkers in the past couple of years. That was the worst I've ever seen an LSU secondary play. It wasn't even just the missed tackles. It was just low football IQ mistake here. Wild tackle attempt there. Then it came down to just pure athleticism. And we were not fluid. Not fluid at all. One thing that I feel will help LSU mightily, though, I don't remember if Brian Kelly was asked about this last year, is the studs, right? The studs were a massive, massive, massive problem last year. We could not stay grounded. We slipped so much in that game. And we have had issues with footing away from Tiger Stadium. Now, why is that important? Well, Ole Miss is a team that does a lot of misdirection. You got to have good traction to stop these guys, okay? Now, Chance pushes back. Did you see LSU secondary against Mississippi State in 2020? All right, strong pushback there because we literally ran man coverage on every snap, 2 men under versus a Mike Leach air raid mesh team. All right, that wasn't on the secondary as much as it was on the coaching. Ole Miss, it wasn't a well-coached game at all. We did give up some walk-in touchdowns. 19 had a big one. That was the thumbnail image for our film study, but I will tell you that that was a lot of execution issues. All right. And one thing that is promising when you look at Ole Miss last year, most of the players, or I would say a good chunk of the players in the secondary who had some brutal performances are no longer on the team. And they are long gone. Okay. So, yeah, Jackson Dart's a good quarterback. KJ Costello really wasn't. But I still think Ole Miss was the worst secondary performance of all time. If that doesn't happen, and if one simple tackle by Denver Harris is made when LSU was up 49-40, guess what? You win the game. But we're relying on Denver Harris, who is arguably the most damaging LSU football player ever. We couldn't get it done. And that's just the truth. I know it sounds really harsh, but it just won't happen. And it's just how his career went. So, Brian Kelly versus a Lane Kiffin coach team. The one thing that we can say about both of the games is Ole Miss jumped on us. And overall, during the Lane tenure, when he's played better teams, when he's played teams that recruit better than him, that has the better per athlete blue chip ratio ranking, he has jumped out on other teams. He did it versus Georgia on the road in Athens last year. Georgia, of course, came back and won. Did it on the road versus Alabama last year. Of course, Alabama came back and won. He's done it versus us the past couple of seasons. We came back to win one of them, couldn't take care of business on the other. Now, the scary thing about Ole Miss is one major drastic shift has happened to their roster, okay? And it's one that we have discussed, but has now become just a little bit more concerning based on what we've seen on film. That's coming up right after this.
I think joy and happiness and doing things you like is important.
My favorite thing is sports cards. When I'm not on YouTube, I am building my collection. And when I started, I wish there was a sports card strategy show.
He wasn't necessarily going to be a first-round pick before all this Heisman buzz. Now they're talking about him being a top 5 pick.
Paul Hickey and the team at nooffseason.com personally helped build my Jaden Daniels collection, and they're looking to do the same for you. Just check them out on social media or nooffseason.com. Book your 360 spin booth experience today with Zion Imaging. Yes, that's my buddy Jaron Thomas who started this venture years ago. And look at the smiles on these faces. This state-of-the-art photo booth is so incredible. I work in the wedding and event industry, and anytime I see a 360 photo booth, it takes your event, whether it's a reunion, a wedding, a conference, no matter what it is, it takes it to another level. Give them a follow on Facebook. Book them today. There is a special deal going on now where you can get up to 40% off. This is all the info. Give them a call today, 318-469-4265, or go to Zion Imaging. That's XYAN Imaging.com. Home is where the heart is, and our friends at NOPOD Roofing really takes that to heart. 504-810-8744. Give them a call today for all of your roofing needs. And one of my favorite things about NOPOD Roofing is their versatility. They not only do roofing, they do siding, they do painting, they do tree removal, fencing, anything home improvement. Our friends at NOPOD will get you straight. Give them a call today at 504-810-8744 and let them know PHL and Carter the Power sent you. We never overpromise and always over-deliver with NOPOD, baby. Let's go. All righty. So, Ole Miss has probably as good of a blue chip ratio defense as we do when you really break it down player for player, especially when you factor in portal, especially when you factor in overall NFL draft talent. They are probably ahead of us. Now, what does blue chip ratio mean? Well, it's basically the amount of blue chippers you have on your team compared to your overall scholarship roster, okay? So a blue chip recruit, of course, is a 4-star recruit. I like to think of them as a 4-star composite. So you go to 247, they do a composite ranking. Are they a 4-star on there? I like to use the On3 composite. I think it's weighted a little bit more equally and a little bit more transparent. I like both of them, though. I still use both. 4-star On3 recruit, or better, composite recruit, not their own rankings, composite recruit, okay? So you go through their defense. Princely was a really talented 4-star rusher for Florida. Walter Nolan is a 5-star. He had some moments of brilliance. He's also had some moments of inconsistencies, this year, but he's obviously very talented. You go to Trey Amos, of course, who's a former 3-star, but this is a guy who played at UL. This is a guy that played at Alabama last year and was solid at Alabama. It's just the corner situation at Alabama was really good. Both their guys got drafted in the first 40 picks. And then he transferred to Ole Miss. Okay, so this defense is loaded. Chris Paul, the transfer from Arkansas, has been really good for them. So this obviously is a very portal-heavy defense with championship-level coaching on that side of the football. And then you go through LSU's defense. It is a lot of 3-stars. It's just what it is. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. Obviously, there's been plenty of great players that are 3-star recruits, but it's not something that you feel wonderful about. Would you say this LSU defense has been good this year? Yeah, they're 55th in the nation in SP+, but we go back to the Twitter poll that I was referencing a little bit earlier. Okay. I see a lot of you talking about Chris Hilton. We'll get in that in a second. All right. So let's go to the Twitter poll. And we'll talk a little bit about Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow today. I see some people are pissed at my Brian Thomas Jr. tweet from earlier today. That's okay. Because I said the NFL Rookie of the Year, if we were to vote for the Offensive Rookie of the Year, the order would be Jaden Daniels 1, Malik Neighbors number 2, and Brian Thomas number 3. Now, if you want to go Brock Bowers number 2, I can hear that out. Brock Bowers has been really good at tight end, which is probably a tougher position to be good at as a rookie. But I think BTJ's been better than Brock Bowers. Okay, it's close. It's very, very, very close. All right, now. This is my Twitter poll from earlier. Obviously, I don't have a gazillion Twitter followers, but I want your answer here. You can type it in the chat. Okay. From an LSU perspective, what was your biggest takeaway in week 6? Hogs and Vandy are losable. 28.6 of you say that. I mean, this poll is dead even. Coming in second is Texas A&M and Ole Miss are good at 25%. And then at 24%, USC and South Carolina look terrible. And then at 21% is Alabama overrated. You know, they get beat by Vanderbilt. I'm about to give a semi, and I mean semi-controversial answer here. What if none of these takeaways are my biggest takeaway from an LSU perspective? And honestly, my biggest takeaway is just a college football perspective. We are in an era of parity in college football. This season feels a lot like 2007, and there are aspects of it that feels like 2007 over again, right? Well, look, I'm not saying that the season will be better than 2007. I don't think there will ever be a college football season as exciting as 2007. I'm not just saying that because we won the title. Every single college football writer who is a national writer will tell you the best college football season ever was 2007. And if you are super young and you weren't able to remember it, shame on you. Here's what I think's happening right now. And it's honestly something I'm not sure will last, because it obviously is going to come down to how NIL is handled. But I feel like the fact that we saw Vanderbilt beat Alabama, and not only beat them, it wasn't lucky. They just flat out beat them. And you have Arkansas beat Tennessee. That also wasn't lucky. They were the better team. They just couldn't finish drives early. The bottom of the SEC is better than it's ever been before. Kentucky went on the road and beat Ole Miss. That spent a lot of money in the portal. Kentucky plays Georgia down to the wire. You know, they complete one simple mesh concept. They're winning that game. The bottom is better than we've ever seen before for 3 reasons. Number one, all these schools have some kind of money, right? Like every school gets a fat check from ESPN. So they have some NIL to pay for and pay with. So you can go get a lot of group of 5 guys that are looking to play in the SEC, play in front of better players, in front of NFL scouts, play in better facilities, better crowds, while at the same time get more money. They're going to these schools. And they're raising the floor of these schools' performances. Let's take the Arkansas game. Obviously, Arkansas team I know pretty well. Who are some of their best players defensively? Well, Landon Jackson was one of them. Now, Landon Jackson isn't as big of a loss this year as he would have been last year, because our defensive end play was not good last year. But this year, our defensive end play has been phenomenal. So he's not really been that big of a loss, but he would have helped us mightily. He's good. Landon Jackson comes over from LSU to Arkansas. All right, Landon Jackson was a top 100 4-star recruit. The portal has really helped out a school like Arkansas. Diego Pavia, the quarterback of Vanderbilt, who last year beat Auburn and this year beats Alabama. Pavia comes over from New Mexico State, and he's really good. Anyone that watched him play last season, you know Diego Pavia is a good player. So the portal is just even things out to where these schools in the bottom of the SEC can't recruit a high school player worth a damn. You can go get experienced transfer portal guys. And where it really shows up is that wide receiver, right? You can get good receivers from small schools out of the portal. You can even get them from small schools and put them on the biggest programs have had success, right? Like CJ Daniels, of course, has been big for us. The best receiver in the game between Arkansas and Tennessee last year was from Texas A&M Commerce. I didn't even know that there was a Texas A&M Commerce when he came to Arkansas, and his name is Andrew Armstrong. All right. So the portal has evened things out. The smaller schools aren't as bad as they used to be. And now you could sign unlimited players. You could sign unlimited portal players. Ole Miss, because of the portal, has a higher blue chip ratio than us. Because Ole Miss was just more active in the portal than we were this past offseason. It's just the truth. But I love this form of college football, even though it hurts a school like LSU, right? Because LSU is one of the elites. LSU gets elite high school players, and then, of course, they have the Louisiana advantage that every single one of you know and love. But what concerns me some, and I do want to include this, I don't think my live stream started on Facebook tonight. So I apologize for that. Facebook has always hated me. You guys know I've had a love-hate relationship with Facebook. Regardless of that. Let me go to point number 3. And this really applies to Arkansas. The COVID year. The COVID year is so daggum big. And I am kind of sick of it. I really am. I'm not the biggest fan of year 6 players. It's just not what college football is about. Year 6? And we got year 7 quarterbacks throughout college football this year. And we got a year 9 tight end at Miami. So this COVID extra year, when you really think about the schools that really benefit from it, it's not LSU. And it's not Alabama. It's not Georgia. Why? Well, because if you're an elite player at those schools, guess what happens? You go to the pros after 3 years. If you're a really good player at Arkansas, guess what? You're probably going to stay at Arkansas. You're probably not going to make that NFL leap because you're a good player at Arkansas or you're a good player at South Carolina. So there's a lot of these year 6 players out there that raises a floor, right? Vanderbilt, pretty experienced team. Kentucky's got a lot of experience. So it makes you wonder how big of a change will college football have when we get through these final sets of COVID year guys. Let's go to S. Young. I feel a lot better about LSU beating Ole Miss than I do A&M. Back-to-back road games in the SEC is a real problem. That lets me know that S. Young is a big PHL supporter. Yeah, I would put right now LSU has a higher chance of beating Ole Miss than they do Texas A&M. I would say that. I would. But thank you for our first super chat. We appreciate it. Let's do something tonight. I actually just got this card in the mail. You could see that the painter's tape to keep the card in the hole here. Pause. It's still in here. Joe Burrow Spectra card's got this fancy design still in the package. And it's actually a thicker card. We'll get this out tonight. The first $50 super chat gets this tonight. It's got a little refractor finish on it. And then I'll send you a few other things as well. Joey B. Let's go to Jason's super chat. Is it Team X isn't as good as we thought, or NIL and portal are bringing more and more parity throughout college football and upsets will be more and more normal? Yeah, as long as transfers are unlimited, I truly do believe it helps the bottom schools more than it does the top. Because every single elite school is going to have great players, right? Like, for instance, let's take a school like Georgia. One player that has been a huge addition for Georgia has been Etienne, right? Travis Etienne. Not only is he a huge addition for Georgia, it was a loss for a team that they play every year in Florida. Okay? It's a big game. That's a big game for Georgia, and he's been really good. Okay? But how much better does that make Georgia as a team? Well, normally I don't think it would change a whole lot for them because Georgia's a really good team, right? But this year it's been massive. However, it's just I just don't think it's as big of a deal for like the elites. Okay. Now, I say that, but Ohio State's starting quarterback is Will Howard, a transfer. But, for me, I look at the portal this way, Jason, as I do with every single thing I do in football. And it's helped me with my clarity of understanding this game as I've gotten older, is how different I treat the quarterback position than everything else. I mean, every single aspect of the quarterback position is so different than every other player on the team. It's almost to the point where we cannot treat them as a member of the team, right? It's just so different. Most of the quarterbacks we're watching right now are portal guys. That's what makes Garrett Nussmeier such a unicorn situation, right? He's one of the few guys that just stuck it out at his school. So, outside of quarterback, the portal trends that have really stood out to me is it's harder to get offensive linemen in the portal, and it's easier to get skill guys out of the portal. Florida State has basically been a transfer school. Now, one thing I would say from Brian Kelly's standpoint, all right, now at the beginning, I shared a stat that some people will view negatively, and I pushed back against it before I even shared it. Okay, pushed back against it. But I'm about to share something that he cannot say publicly. All right, once again, I have never spoken to Brian Kelly. I haven't. The only interaction I've ever had with him was him following me on Twitter. That's it. That is, and I didn't even say anything to him, didn't DM or anything. Okay. Never have had an interaction to him or any one of his family members or anything like that. One thing I will defend him to a certain degree is that would I have liked LSU to be more active in the portal this offseason? Yes. Like, I just begin to think how one transfer safety completely changes this team. One transfer safety might have changed the outcome of the USC game. Now, we did get a good transfer safety in Jordan Gilbert, who's played, for the most part, pretty well. We're already close to halfway through the season. I think he's actually played okay, right? USC game wasn't great, but since then, he's probably been our best safety. Okay? So, I like Jordan Gilbert, but I feel like we could have gotten another guy, and another guy would have been hungry to get here. I've defended Brian Kelly with the Dominic Williams thing. One thing, though, that I would say is, as Carvis points out with the Florida State thing, is look at the program that they have now. I mean, it is in ruin. It is an absolute ruin. Out of the elite tier programs, they're probably in the worst shape. Now, I still think Norvell can coach, but he's got some difficult decisions because obviously they had that magical season. Everyone got good contracts, and now the whole team's ass. That team is rife with cultural issues. All right. Because if you bring in a bunch of guys, and they brought in a bunch of transfers who were not good football players. I'm serious. Like, I would have told them that some of the guys that they brought in wouldn't have been the guys that I would have targeted. Okay. I value portal guys a lot more if you've proven something up to this point. Always remember this. When somebody enters a portal, there is a reason, okay? And it's sometimes between two things. Number one, they're mad, they want more money, and they just want to get out. The second is they can't play. It's either one of those two things. And Florida State brought in a lot of transfers that can't play. So right when Florida State, things got negative and they were backs were up against the wall, what happened? Well, the team folded. Why? Because it's hard to buy in when every year your whole team is a fresh set of transfers. And a lot of the guys they brought back were not good leaders. All right. They were always complaining about more NIL and so on and so on. Okay. So, and also a lot of good players that really, played their asses off and were good football players, and they were used to winning, and they had a full offseason of being the victims, crying victim. And like I said, I will defend Florida State until I die for them not getting into the playoff. I was that ardent of a defender. Don't care if they got their asses beat by Georgia. But the fact that none of those guys, not a single one of them, was willing to put it on the line in the Georgia game told me everything I needed to know. While Georgia didn't really have any opt-outs. They played. There was some signal in that. And I have nothing against players opting out of bowl games. Nothing. Well, that's kind of a lie. But the point still remains the same. I understand Brian Kelly's fear of culture running awry. Let's go to Jared with the super sticker. Thank you so much, Jared. I appreciate it. And Jared was updating me because I was DJing a wedding yesterday throughout the Vanderbilt Alabama game. Not gonna lie, there's people watching their phones with that happening. Norvell was getting fired if he didn't beat us in 2022. Yeah, for sure. Let's go to Sibley. Carter, do you think college football will resemble the NFL in terms of wins and making the playoffs? The goal of the NFL is to have 8-8 teams in the playoffs because of parity. Yeah, Sibley makes a good point. The NFL does not mind if middle-tier teams get into the playoffs, and it pisses me off. NFL, to me, used to have a perfect playoff system with 6 teams making it, 2 teams getting a bye. But now 7 really waters down the product. Like this last year was the first year we really saw a 7 seed really make some damage. And now, of course, was the Packers. Would they have won a playoff game if one versus the choking Cowboys? Maybe they would have, maybe they wouldn't have. I don't know. But the NFL does not mind watered down playoffs because they want to sell hope to more franchises, right? So when you get more teams into the playoffs, it makes you a lot more excited. Okay. Yeah, I keep going back to this. As much as I love Jaden Daniels, he and CJ Stroud, and obviously those two are really close friends, they both deserve a lot of credit because they are making the NFL a lot of money. All right. And we'll get back into the college aspect of it, of the super chat. But what Jaden and CJ Stroud have done is in their very first years, they have completely changed the hopes and dreams of an entire fan base just by them existing and being themselves and being great football players, right? So the NFL is a perfect system of teams turning their fortune around pretty quickly in terms of draft and getting to the playoffs and making noise there. It's a lot of fun. It really is. Now, will college football really resemble the NFL in terms of wins and making the playoffs? Well, it will. Now, am I still pissed that Georgia, Alabama happened and, well, that game really didn't knock either team out of the playoffs? Yeah, it pissed me off. Do I wish Vanderbilt winning would have knocked Alabama out of the playoff? Sure. Now, one thing I want to include, and this is going to piss a lot of you off, especially since this has been a very Brian Kelly focused thing. I've been mostly positive of BK. All right. I have a feeling this is about to get really nasty on Twitter between LSU and Notre Dame fans. Okay. Because, of course, Notre Dame lost earlier this year to Northern Illinois. But now, with the way college football is going right now, you're having a lot of other elite teams losing versus not so great teams. And when a school like Tennessee loses to Arkansas, that really helps Notre Dame at getting back into the playoff. So one thing we need to prepare ourselves for is if Notre Dame doesn't lose again, they might not only get into the playoffs, they might actually host a first-round playoff game. Now, you guys know one thing I do not do on this channel, and then it's hurt me in the long run. And I might start doing this, is I don't talk about AP poll rankings. I don't. I really, really, really don't. It's not that I don't like them. I actually do like polls. Polls are interesting to me. And I also think it's interesting that we get an aggregate ranking of everyone around the world. I say around the world, around the country that covers college football. The main reason I don't talk AP polls too often is because AP poll voters are beat writers at schools more often than not. All right. And a lot of you probably aren't familiar with beat writers, but they're covering games. I mean, they're in press conference, post-game press conference scrums while other games are going on. And then the very next morning, they have to have a poll of 25 teams turned in. It's a very flawed thing. Why they don't wait till Monday or Tuesday to release a poll, I don't know. But all polls are flawed to some certain degree. So I don't talk a whole lot about AP polls here. But the truth is, Notre Dame has a very clear path to the playoff. In a 4-team playoff, it would be near impossible for them to get in with the loss of Northern Illinois. Even if Notre Dame has a top 4 seed in this year's playoff, if we were in the former format, they would find a way to not get Notre Dame into a 4-team playoff with a loss to Northern Illinois. Okay? But LSU fans, you need to be ready. Notre Dame has a very solid defense. Very well could go to the playoff. Now, I'm going to keep this to myself. There was something that happened with Notre Dame that is somewhat associated with LSU. Has nothing to do with Brian Kelly, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut because if I said this aloud, it would piss a lot of people off. I might share this in the Patreon. I don't think it's worth sharing publicly. But one thing I thought was pretty hilarious and kind of a double standard was set by someone. And, you know, it's just not worth the discourse. It's just not. I might unleash it now because, you know, as you get older, you just don't give a, you know what. It's a good point for Chance. Mike Elko, Clark Lee, former BK DCs, having big days this weekend. Hey, that's pretty well done. Tyler, you get the next question. Tyler's been one of our super diehard viewers for a very long time. Big Dex is in here. I think I saw the Master Blaster in here. What's up, Jeremy? Good to see you. Carvis, who's right there near Tallahassee. Florida State's in horrible shape. Yeah. I think you can build a team that just transfers. You just can't get guys that can't play. That's the problem, especially at the quarterback position. Y'all, this live stream has been lit. Sometimes I can't go live on Sunday because the film study takes a while. What I will tell you, what I might do, and I want it to be known because a lot of you like to tune into the Sunday night premiere film study, okay? Those might not be anymore. Now, I still will do a film study, but the amount of time it cuts into my NFL Sunday of cutting film studies is massive. It is ginormous. It takes a lot of freaking time. So I might be moving the Sunday film study to an earlier time. All right, so next Sunday, I'm going to experiment with this. I'm going to film the film study and then do a premiere around 11. I'll try and get it done by 11 a.m. I probably won't be able to because it is such a big game. So we'll do a premiere of some sort next week for the Sunday film study at 11 a.m. Okay. Now, the next thing. I am always happy for partnerships. Someone reached out today. Hey, I would love to have a NOPOD run during your thing. And guess what? We'd love to have you. Hit me up. powerhourlsu@gmail.com. You want to support what we're doing? That's how I feed my family. That's how you get all this great content for free. If you also want to pay for some bonus stuff, including, sneak peek access to stuff, go to Power LSU on Patreon. Shorty, I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Let's go to Tony, who attends every single live stream, and he's rocking a PHL sweater. Okay. Tony says Jack Bech should have came back to LSU. Would have been unstoppable in the open field to play with his buddy Nuss and the other wide receiver weapons. Okay. And then we'll get into Texas and Georgia here in a moment. All right. I don't think we're ready to have the Jack Bech conversation. I'm serious. Because obviously a lot of you have, ties to players that are on the channel. It's amazing how many times I get asked about Trey Holly. All right. It's ridiculous because he was on here once. We didn't play the full thing because the audio corrupted, but he's been on the channel before. I still get questions about Lance Hurd, okay, who had a rough game, and we're going to get to that here in a second for my final thoughts, okay? But let's have the Jack Bech conversation. So as a true freshman, why did Jack Bech have a better season as a true freshman than Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr.? Well, number one, Jack Bech is really good, okay? Now, is he as good as those guys? No. We'll get to that in just a second. I think we can all agree. You could be the biggest Jack Bech fan alive, and he's not as good as BTJ and Malik Neighbors. But his true freshman season, he was. Now, there was a couple of reasons as to why. The first is Malik started the season hurt, okay? And then BTJ, of course, he had some inconsistencies in the first game. But the number one reason Jack Bech played more than others was because we did not have tight end depth at all. And I called what we were doing 10.5 personnel, right? We were running 11 personnel with Jack Bech as a tight end. All right. And the way that Max Johnson played, which Max Johnson was not an overly athletic play extender, and he did not have great arm strength. He liked to get the football out quickly. That attaches well to a receiver playing tight end who really understood windows and getting open and was an amazing athlete. So the way Max Johnson played perfectly fit with what Jack Bech was early in his career as a player. All right. So that happened. Then Kayshawn got hurt. Jack Bech still continued to produce. And, that 2021 season from him is one of the best true freshman seasons we have ever had at LSU. Ever. Out of any wide receiver. Really think about it. It is crazy to think about. And it was unfathomable, I didn't say that word well at all, that he would not only not finish his career at LSU, but almost get completely phased out of the offense. So what happened in 2022? Well, Jaden Daniels came in, who is not Max Johnson, right? Especially in 2022. Jaden Daniels in 2022 is not much of an intermediate thrower. A lot of elite dual threat quarterbacks are not intermediate check down kind of throwers because, well, they can extend plays with their legs, right? They don't need the emergency option or throw in a tight windows as much as the other quarterbacks can, all right, or need to, if that makes sense. And then the wide receiver room was crowded. So Mason Taylor jumped into the fray, and he actually played tight end. And then we didn't really need Jack Bech at tight end anymore. Malik was Malik, and Malik quickly became the best player, on our team. And then Kayshawn was – well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And Kayshawn was not a good slot receiver. All right. Didn't take rehab seriously, and he played a lot of the slot options. And I think a lot of Jaden's struggles in 2022 were on him as a thrower. But I think a lot of it was because Kayshawn was not a good slot receiver for us. He just wasn't. And Jack probably would have been a better option. But, you go back to 2022, Jack started the offseason, like the fall camp portion, banged up. He had shin issues, right? And the issue with having shin issues is the wide receiver room became a lot more crowded. In step Kyron Lacy. All right, Kyron Lacy in 2022, while he wasn't great, he was still there. He still played. And we now see that Kyron and Jack are probably equal in terms of talent, right? Kyron's probably the better overall receiver. Or no, I don't know. It's close. It's really, really, really close between the two of them. But Kyron was really talented, so that ate into Jack snaps. Still had Jeray Jenkins. That ate into Jack snaps. Kayshawn was eating up a lot of targets that Jack is really good at. And then you still have Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. Then you have Mason Taylor playing the role that Jack played a lot of in 2022. And then you had Kayshawn holding the room hostage, essentially, with him deciding to come back and all the other stuff that was going on. You know, Jack had already played 2 full seasons with 2 years of eligibility left. And there wasn't certain targets there for the taking. The guy loved LSU, and trust me, I kept up with it. You know, I still like the Bech family. I still like Jack. But it just wasn't meant to be. Now, if there's anyone on the planet that would have loved to have it work out at LSU, it's him. His uncle played at the school. He loved LSU. He wouldn't have jumped on this channel if he didn't like LSU. So it worked out for all parties involved. LSU, of course, has not had a wide receiver shortage by any means. And TCU has got themselves a true alpha at the wide receiver position. One thing I think Jack is very underrated with is when he got to TCU, that room became filled with transfers. And he did not re-enter himself into the portal. All right. So this idea that he didn't want to stick it out and compete and stuff, well, he went to a school that he thought was going to be a little bit more of an open room coming off a national championship appearance. And that room became crowded. You know, they brought in JoJo Earl. They brought in Warren Thompson. Those are some SEC transfers. And Jack just outproduced them. And now he's been one of the best receivers in college football. So I've gotten a lot of Bech questions. I have. And, of course, I've tweeted a few times how excited I am that he's still playing well. But this is what playing wide receiver at LSU is like. Wouldn't all of us have liked Dontavian Wicks to be at LSU? We never talk about Dontavian Wicks. Wide receiver out of Plaquemine that went to Virginia and now is a part of one of the best offenses in the NFL in the Green Bay Packers. And in terms of yards per route run, he's been one of the best receivers in the NFL. You know, in that same recruiting class, we never got Keon Coleman to play for us. Wide receiver is tough because there's an abundance of talent at the position that's always going to exist at LSU and always going to exist in the state of Louisiana. And then the second thing is wide receiver is one of the few positions we have in football where it's not necessarily if you play that matters, it's how you're utilized. If I'm an offensive lineman and I play in any system at any school, I just want to play. Yeah, sure, the system matters some, but I'm just worried about playing. Wide receiver is different. Not only do you want to play, you want to get targets. And let's be honest, and it doesn't apply to Jack, but we've seen, in particular, wide receivers, a lot of receivers have really diva attitudes in the portal. UCF had a receiver starting, playing a lot, caught a touchdown versus Colorado, quit the team so he can keep an extra year of eligibility. Mississippi State had a player, wide receiver, that was playing some, quit the team to keep a redshirt year of eligibility. So wide receiver is definitely the position that feels like is squeezed out quite a bit more by the transfer portal. Number one, it is one of the few positions in all of college football that has more demand, or should I say more supply than they do demand. There's very few special receivers that really matter and move the needle. Those are your Kyron Lacy's, your Ryan Williams, if you will. Jack Bech now at TCU is definitely that. But even then, it is hard to play. It is hard to play, and how you're utilized matters so much. So one final thing on Jack, and then we'll get into a few other transfers. I get asked a lot about these transfers. And I do think this is critical, okay? part of you growing as a player is the transfer aspect of it. All right. Part of transferring, unless you're Caleb Downs, is the school telling you, hey, it's hard for you to play here. We would prefer you stay here. But if Jack Bech was a starter and got 70 targets a year, then he probably would have never left. So part of the transfer aspect is the humbling nature of you essentially being told, hey, I wasn't good enough to play here. Cortez Hankton would have loved to have Jack Bech back, I'm pretty sure. But a lot of the best players in college football over the past couple of years have been transfers. And a lot of them have been players that were told at first, hey, you're not good enough to play here. Hey, you need to go get a fresh start somewhere else. I mean, did anyone think Bo Nix or Michael Penix or hell, Jaden Daniels, Arizona State? Do you think Arizona State players would have thrown Jaden Daniels stuff in the trash in a viral Instagram video if they would have known he would be, one of the best NFL quarterbacks we've ever seen at this as a rookie? Yeah, Carvis, let's be honest. The Keyshawn decision really threw a wrench into a lot of things. All right. And, LSU, of course, thankfully, were able to survive Keyshawn's issues, if you will. But I cannot state enough, and looking back at it, it is amazing how much damage he ended up doing to the team. I mean, it's just how it is. Now, I'm a little bit more lenient towards it because, well, he won us a lot of games, in 2020 and 2021. He won us a lot of football games. But look, I will say this. From speaking to people that would know the answer to this, one other big Brian Kelly thing that he's done a really good job of is emphasizing to the team how you carry yourself matters. How you carry yourself matters so much. Perfect example, the Xavier Thomas quote that I tweeted out a while back. That's the kind of stuff you want to hear, right? How fortunate he is to play at LSU, even though he's been looked over. He still loves playing for the dream school, understanding that playing at this university is a big deal. It's a dream of every single one of you that played high school football that's watching this right now. You probably dreamed of playing at LSU, including this person sitting right here. Okay? Now, I did get a pretty cool thing happen to me pretty soon. I said pretty soon. Happened over the weekend. And I want to thank this young man publicly for spending time with me after the game. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, you already know this, but my Discordians got this message as well. Big thanks to Carius Kern for spending some time. We got to hang out this weekend. I played high school football in Arkansas. Guess what? Carius Kern does as well. First Arkansas high school football scholarship recruit since Brett Helms of Stuttgart. Also a great offensive lineman at LSU. As you can see, Carius Kern is a specimen. The dude is abso-freaking-lutely massive. And Trent, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Not only is he massive, this is confirmed. He watches the channel. So met Carius, met some of his family as well this weekend. And I appreciate him after playing, a long high school football game for spending some time with me. Really looking forward to that. Oh, we got some Walker Howard chatter. Carver says he's shocked that Walker Howard got passed up. telling you right now. I would give this advice to a lot of players. And look, Jack obviously took, and this wasn't advice from me, full disclosure, but I share this all the time. Go somewhere where you can play. Because Jack still would have played at LSU. He just wanted to have a bigger role. But if you are buried on the depth chart and you want to stick it out at LSU, sure, stick it out at LSU. But go where you will play. That's all there is to it. If you don't have a clear path to playing time, don't go to that school. Okay? Don't do it. Now, have recruits reached out to me? Some big, some small. Yeah. Mostly high school players. Have I spoken to a few college players about this? Sure. Right? You know, they're always looking for something. Shorty, get your super chat question in, and I'll go straight to it, man. But go somewhere where you're going to play. Now, if you absolutely love the university, and let's say you meet your girlfriend there, your fiance, whatever, and you want to finish out your degree while also playing a backup role and you're trying to get into coaching or whatever, yeah, there's different motives for each player, but 90% of players want to go somewhere where they can play. Play. You know what that doesn't mean? That doesn't mean you have to go somewhere elite. Hell, go somewhere where you can get playing time. Anywhere. You know, I understand that there are some NFL teams that have some of the crappiest ownership and some of the dumbest people imaginable running some of the scouting departments. But every team has talented people. There's not a single team that does not have at least 5 extremely talented staffers, coaches, or whatever. These are multi-billion-dollar organizations. All of them are multi-billion-dollar organizations. That's their net worth. Now, do they do some non-multi-billion-dollar decision-maker type of things? Yeah, sure. I say all of that because if you are good enough to play in the NFL, they're going to find your ass. They're going to find you. Why? Well, the first thing that happens when you sign an NFL contract is that team is already looking forward to your replacement. Unless you're a franchise quarterback or you're an elite kicker, they're looking for your replacement. And even then, they are looking for your replacement. All right? We are all the biggest Drew Brees fan in the world. We all love Drew Brees. All of us have said the what if Patrick Mahomes would have fallen to number 11. You know, we've all done that, okay? They're looking for your replacement. And you know where they want to get you? They want to get your ass from college because that's when you are the cheapest. Are you kidding me? We're in a capitalistic society. People want cheap, young labor. NFL is no different, okay? You know one thing the NFL can't do? They don't know if you're any good if you don't have any tape. I mean, it's just that simple. Now, could you be an obscenely gifted athlete as a backup at a major university? Yeah, of course. There's Matt Castle stories and stuff like that. But with the portal, that really doesn't exist. Okay? You know who the best college football player is right now? All right? Who is undoubtedly right now the best living, breathing organism playing college football? This guy has not had a bad game yet. This guy had minus 4,000 odds to score a touchdown All right. I don't think people understand how long of odds that is. To score a touchdown. All right. It is the Boise State running back by the name of Ashton Ginty. That is the best player in all of college football. He didn't need to transfer. Now, could he have transferred and gotten more money? Yeah, he could have. Yeah, I'm sure he had offers. He was great last year. Now, do you think NFL teams are going to be like, oh, damn, he's putting up far better Heisman numbers than Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry? It's just a level of competition. Do you think NFL teams are doing that? Hell no. They're tracking his MPH. They're looking at his body weight. They see he's thick. They see he's smart. They see he knows how to bounce runs. They see he breaks tackles. They see he has a freaking burst. If you're good enough, they will find your ass. It is just that simple. Okay? Now, do some diamonds slip through the cracks? Yeah, sure. It's like that with everything. Okay? If you're good enough, they'll find you. Now, let's go to Shorty. Really good super chat question. What happened to Caleb Jackson? I thought he would have more explosive plays than he does right now. All right. A few things. Last year, and this is always a little bit of a concern, you never want a running back to just run into people. And probably the most overrated highlight that we have in football that gets people really hyped up is when you truck stick somebody. Okay? It's honestly a very negative EV play in the long term. All right. Number one, when you truck stick someone, it does open yourself up to concussions and big hits and body damage, right? It's a huge, huge, huge impact. All right. It's you running close to 20 miles per hour versus another human being. All right. And whenever you run somebody over like that, it's rare it's Leonard Fournette versus Auburn or A&M. It's rare that you're running for a lot of yards after the fact either. Okay. So, when you run people over and you're used to running people over, it can impact your vision. The more efficient play is to run around someone. Okay. We want to run around people, not through them. Now, sometimes you got to run through them. That's your only option. And there were some times last year when Caleb Jackson would carry the football, you just run into people. Now, it's okay if you're pinned to get to sideline, there's any more yards for you to gain. One other thing that would cause me to really rethink things if I'm Brian Kelly is Caleb Jackson had a lot of good days in practice. This has been a bit of a shock to quite a few people. Why has this happened? Well, part of it is just public knowledge, but Caleb Jackson has really had some impressive plays in practices. So, it's one of those things where he's just regressed some. Another thing is, last year he played with Jaden Daniels, and Jaden makes all running backs look a lot better. Brian Robinson will make the Pro Bowl this year. And Brian Robinson was a good back last year for Washington, but he's with Jaden. Jaden makes every running back better that he plays with. So that's part of what has hurt Caleb this year. And yeah, I don't know. I know his body changed some. It's been a little bit of a shock to me as well. Now, is it entirely on him? No, the run scheme isn't the best. The blocking hadn't been the best. So there you go. Now, am I still bullish on Caleb's future? Yeah. But Kane Durham is just better. Like, he's got a high motor. Ashton Genty. Yeah, I don't even know if a motor is a way to describe Ashton Genty, man. Yeah, he's special, man. He's so special. Now, I promise I'll talk about Chris Hilton. It's kind of moot because we'll really know tomorrow. But Memphis, it's good to see you again. We'll talk a lot about Chris tomorrow. We see a lot of small school quarterbacks, Terry Bradshaw, Ben Roethlisberger, Brett Favre, Johnny Mandel. Well, A&M's a big school. Not an elite school, but it's a big school. Now, there was actually one small school quarterback that balled out today in the NFL, but it happened in a loss. Okay, can you tell me who that is? There was one small school quarterback who balled out today, but it was in a loss. Can you tell me who that is? Let me see what's happening on Sunday Night Football. Delayed? Wait, why is the game delayed? Wait, what happened? Someone tell me. Is it weather? No, as we move later in the live stream, there's all these other controversial topics. Okay. Miami got bailed out, and it's making a lot of people wonder if there's some nefarious activities with the officials in Miami. It is what it is at this point. It has been 2 consecutive weeks of some weird officiating. But Miami got bailed out big time versus Cal. Did it help that I had a Cal money line bet? I've had a rough go at it with some of my picks. But you're all right. Joe Flacco. Josh Allen didn't play well today. Joe Flacco balled out. What was it? Josh Allen was 9 for 30 today. If I were a betting man, I would have the Texans as a favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. Okay. Oh, the stadium was flooding. Okay. All right. A few things. LSU's getting ready to play Ole Miss. All right. Now, if, let's say, where did they announce game day? I don't think it would be. Where's game day this weekend? Is it for Georgia, Texas? Georgia Tech isn't until next week. Where's game day this weekend? I don't know. I've been so into the NFL today. All the power NFL stuff. But either way. Oregon versus Ohio State. What's up, William? Okay, yeah, well, deservingly so. That's where they should be. It's a bigger game than ours. I mean, all of them are big. But yeah, Miami got bailed out. So it has made some people wonder, Miami's such a, but I get into like, how big of a brand is Miami football? Like, I mean, it's pretty big. Obviously, it was the biggest thing in the 80s. But I wouldn't say they're like the absolute most needle-moving school, unless I'm just totally mistaken here. I would prefer Miami to be relevant. One of my favorite things about college football this year is a lot of these powers that used to be relevant and have had multiple decades of just mid are back. Like Nebraska's back. Not Notre Dame. They've been pretty good. Nebraska, Miami, Tennessee. Who's another power that's kind of made a little bit of a resurgence this year? There was another that was like on the top of my mind. Either way. It's been weird. The Miami officiating has been weird. So at the end of the Arkansas game, this would be another message I would give Brian Kelly. And it's not a big deal here. Okay. But it could be a big deal here in a few weeks. Because LSU is about to play in some big games. Absolutely, positively big games. And I will go one step further here. LSU, if they beat Ole Miss this weekend, there could be a field storming. Now, should LSU fans rush the field if they beat Ole Miss this weekend? Whatever happens, happens. I'm going to lean towards no. You beat Alabama, that's a different story. Crazy stats shared today by Michael Casagrande. The last 8 times Alabama has lost on the road, there have been field stormings after each one. Now, that lets you know how big of a program Alabama is, okay? The last 8 times that they have lost on the road, there have been field stormings. The last team that Alabama has lost to on the road, where there hasn't been a field storming, was 2010 LSU, okay? So 2010 LSU, the Ruben Randall game, he had a big touchdown. We beat them. Patrick Peterson did his thing versus Julio Jones. And I think Julio actually caught a touchdown in that game as well. That was the last time. So LSU plays Ole Miss. Fans might rush the field. That's not what I'm worried about. LSU goes on the road. If they lose to Arkansas, fans are probably going to rush the field. I know they just rushed the field versus Tennessee. The Golden Boot matters more to Arkansas than anything else. Now, if LSU gets blown out by Ole Miss and then they lose to Arkansas, they might not rush. I don't know. But this could be one of the last times the boot is played in Arkansas. I might go into a different rotation after 2025. Will LSU still be an annual opponent of Arkansas? We don't know. Then A&M might be a field storming. A&M might be a field storming. Okay? So, that's obviously not until a few weeks from now. But why is that relevant? This will sound brutal, but we've been involved in a field storming with A&M. And for those that remember, there was an altercation, all right? It involved an LSU staffer by the name of Steve Crackthorpe, who has now passed away. He was dealing with Parkinson's. There was a lot of back and forth. It involved Jimbo Fisher's nephew. Kevin Falk almost murdered this guy on the field. He held back. Thankfully, I'm happy Kev Falk does not have that on his record. But a guy that we love on this channel, John Battle, stepped up and punched Jimbo Fisher's son or nephew or whatever the hell he was. The dude was being a total jerk and deserved it. Okay. Would John Battle probably tell you that he would like to have that back? Sure. I still love John Battle. We're probably the only LSU channel that mentions him in a positive light. And once again, you bother someone with Parkinson's and you're wearing like an official A&M stuff, I'm going to take care of business too. But look, there could be a field storming there. Then you have the bye week, and they have Alabama. If LSU beats Alabama, the fans are going to storm the field. They just are. Unless history changes over the last 8 times that they've been beaten, they're going to storm the field. Now, why do I bring all of this up? Why would I bring all of this up? Well, something happened at the end of the Arkansas-Tennessee game. And for me, one thing that I do a lot of, and William, thank you for the super chat. Okay. Now, please, if you guys do not mind, if you do comment, do not spam the chat. All right. Just go one comment at a time. I don't want to put the time limit on or whatever. All right. Because I want as many people to comment in there. Okay. Whatever the case may be. Now, could there be field storms? I don't know. This is the unfair double standard that I will always protect players for. Players are not allowed to go into the stands. They are not in any circumstance allowed to go into the stands. But fans are. Okay? Fans who aren't there in any official capacity outside of paying for a ticket. And you guys know, I defend fans in many different ways. We just had a guy who pays more money than you can imagine go to as many stadiums as he wants to in Michael Barker, the campus stadium tour guy. Okay? So we speak to people that go to games. A lot of you go to games. You as a fan deserve a lot of different rights to games. All right? We can get into a debate if field storming should even be allowed, but it's a raucous group of 100,000 people, some that are heavily inebriated, and it's a rush. And we have seen players become a lot more hostile towards fans and vice versa. There was quite a few fans that stormed onto the field versus Tennessee that stormed right in front of where the Tennessee players were walking through a tunnel. And it didn't look great, but Tennessee's biggest dude on the entire team pushed a male fan down, which in turn also pushed a female's fans down. And the female's head snapped on the turf. Like it was bang. I can pull up the video here. Now, we don't know what was said prior. So, if I was in Brian Kelly's ear, I would tell all of my players and even show them the video. Even show them the video of the fan running onto the field. Okay? And say, hey, guys, we have got to keep our cool. We do not want this coming back to you, right? Because no matter what, this will stay with number 21 for the rest of his career. See, he pushes that guy down, and then that knocks the female fan down. I'll slow-mo it for you as well. And then we'll get into William's super chat, okay? So you see, it's kind of in the middle right there, number 21. That guy might have said something to him. He pushes him down, and she falls down. Her head basically falls down on the turf. We don't know what was all said. And you can just see this in post-game interviews. When a player is interviewed on the field after a game, the interview is a lot different than the interview that's done like an hour after when a player showered and in different clothing, right? A lot of times, if you interview a player right after the game ends, the adrenaline is still flowing. And you're going to get some curse words. You're going to get some of this. So when players are running off the field, even if they aren't on the field for the final play, think about all the blood, sweat, and tears they put into 12 games that they play every season. And they're in a hostile environment. They've been being yelled at the whole time. And by the way, they are hitting other human beings. It's hard for that blood pressure to go down. So 21 shouldn't have done this. But understand, you're stepping into a player's personal area and their terrain. And this is, to me, pushing a male is a lot different than Jermaine Burton hitting the female fan in the face after the Alabama-Tennessee game a few years ago. Okay? So it is what it is at this point. If I'm Brian Kelly, I'm telling every single player on my team. Okay. And it's crazy. Let's go to William. He said, man, I drove 900 miles to get to the game and spent all kind of money during the game and couldn't even get on the field to take pictures. That's pitiful. So, yeah, I mean, I have different opinions on this, right? I come from, a different place being a media member, and I've been on the field a lot for games, okay? It is a awesome feeling to be on the field, right? I got to be on the field for a few of the 2019 games. It is awesome, and it is awesome to get a good photo opportunity when you're on the field. But, when it's 100,000 people, should everyone have the right to go on the field and take a photo? I think the best way to do it would be just give fans that option. Why wouldn't you give fans that option? Hey, for an extra $50 at the end of the game, when everything's cleared out, we'll let the first 100 fans take photos at Tiger Stadium. And why not add in, hey, for $20 extra, you get a photo of Harold Perkins, or you get a photo of Will Campbell. You get a photo, it could be an even smaller player. You get a photo with Kylan Billiot, whoever, a backup. Kylan gets a cut. I don't know why I chose him. I like Kylan Billiot, but I don't know why. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. That's also part of the reason why I like going to smaller college football games. Now, I don't normally go because, my days are filled with doing YouTube videos now. But you go to like a D2 game, they'll let you go on the field. They'll let you throw passes on the field. They'll let you take photos on the field. But Sibley says it's a change in American culture. It gets trashier by the year. True, but one other thing that I would include, Sibley, is have we gotten trashier as a society, or do we just have smartphones now? All right. Do we just have smartphones? I do think a football field storm is a lot different than a college basketball court storm. And I hate when people try to equate the two. Football field storms, especially at night, you have a bunch of fans that have been drinking all day, tailgating all day. It is far more visceral and far more crowded, right? There's a lot more equipment, and there's just so much chaos. So much chaos. So let's go to William. He's wanting to get into the game plan. I love it. He wants to actually talk ball. I was more so talking like preventative measures as we head into this week. But yes, I would tell each and every player on my team, you're always being recorded. Okay. Now it is a little bit different for myself. Okay. Because, I wanted to be a radio host, and with FCC guidelines, you couldn't say shit. All right. I could say that here. YouTube might demonetize some of my videos for some language, but I'm mostly clean on here. But you're taught as a radio professional, the mic is always hot. The mic is always on. But now, in this society, the mic is hot everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. Even in your own house. Even in your own house. Hackers can hack into your dog cam, your doorbell cam, your face cam. Doesn't take much. I mean, they can have access to all of it. Okay, there's always somebody out there trying to steal your identity. You can be the ugliest guy or gal. I mean, you can literally be that. They're trying to steal your identity. They're trying to look at you. They're trying to stalk at you. In society now, the mic is always hot. And really think about it. Think about it at a time in your life where you did something where you probably had one too many beers and you acted an ass. Or you did something you weren't supposed to. We all have one of those stories. You're like, man, I hope nobody saw that. And hopefully that story is not nefarious or criminal in nature. So let's talk about William Super Chat. The first thing is, this will arguably be LSU's best defensive line they have played up to this point. Now, USC's defensive line was really good. Obviously, the other USC's defensive line was really good. The big benefit, William, is you're getting to play this game in front of Tiger Stadium. So those other games were not at home. So you're going to have a little bit more chemistry in front of your own home crowd, which makes it a little bit easier to block hosses up front. So you have to protect Garrett Nussmeier, but Garrett is arguably the best pressure to sack ratio quarterback in the country. Dating back to last year, he's only been sacked twice, and that was both against South Carolina, who has a really, really elite pass rush. Ole Miss does as well with Ivy. 15 is a good player. Number 2, Walter Nolan's a really good player. Pegues, 89, who's kind of their wildcat thick quarterback, is a pretty good player as well. They've got a lot of talented defensive linemen. Princely is, of course, a really good pass rusher, the transfer from Florida, who we've struggled with over the years. So their defensive line is going to be good. Their defense is going to be good. So we can make a very strong case as the best defense we played up to this point. But it's really the other side that you have to be concerned about. Trey Harris, he's always going to be extra amped for this game. He tore us up last year. He's probably going to tear us up again this year because we just don't have dudes that are ready to guard alpha receivers of that caliber. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope Ashton Stamps proves all of us wrong. And we can all agree that we like Ashton Stamps. We can all agree that Ashton Stamps is a very good player. In fact, I tweeted something out very positively about him, talking about Justin Jefferson. Not only the fact that he's faced off against Justin Jefferson this offseason in workout settings, his career path is very similar to that of Justin Jefferson. Now, is he going to be that good of a player? Probably not, but he's a good SEC level corner, a year 2 corner. Super young as a 3-star recruit. It's impressive that he's even playing as much as he's been playing. But we don't have a guy that you feel comfortable with versus Trey Harris. And the truth is, we didn't have that guy last year either. And it cost us. It cost us dearly. The thing that concerns me the most, William, and this was part of the reason why I like South Carolina a little bit in this Ole Miss game, is Jackson Dart was a little bit better at finding other guys, right? Juice Wells was a big transfer receiver they brought over from South Carolina. He made a big play versus the Gamecocks. I know that felt good for him, but he fumbled the ball through the back of the end zone for a touchback. He's a very talented receiver. Doesn't look the same player as he was at South Carolina, but he's good. Priestcorn's a really good tight end, 86. Ironically, his wife is absolutely hilarious on TikTok. I've seen a few go viral. And she's just hilarious. But Priest-Corn's just a good player. He's a really good player. And their offensive line's okay. I mean, Lane's never really had like just elite offensive linemen, but because his play calling, his play sequencing is so good, it helps. Now, one thing that's interesting is Logan Diggs has been a disaster for him because he's been so hurt. So they have relied on Bentley, who's a good running back. Obviously, Quinshon Judkins was selfish throughout his Ole Miss career, so he packed his bags and went to Ohio State. And Matt Jones is actually their backup. He's a former walk-on who bet on himself. Great story. Now as a scholarship, he's an okay back, right? He'll run the offense. So, normally the big thing you want to do is stop the run when you play Ole Miss at first. And Bentley, of course, gave us a really tough go at it last year. But the truth is, I prefer their running backs to beat us. And at the same damn time, don't let Trey Harris beat us. Now, the issue with that is Trey Harris is probably on Malik and Brian Thomas Jr.'s level in terms of wide receiver talent. He's from Louisiana. If he was playing for LSU, we'd all say the same thing. And the dude is just amazing. Like, he's just really freaking good at tackle football. And he might be so good that we can't do anything about it. So, in a world where you have to ask these questions, would you rather let him get his and we shut down everyone else? Or do we want to force other people to beat us? I would rather the former instead of the latter. Or I'd rather the latter instead of the former. Okay? So hopefully that answered your question some. But we got more Ole Miss breakdown throughout the rest of the week. Let's go to a super chatter here. Epic Shorty is coming back from a procedure. You've all been in our prayers, Shorty. Appreciate all your support. I've always wanted to know what kind of drink is in your cup. Is it just red Kool-Aid? So I'm about to make an admission, Epic Shorty. It's going to sound crazy. All right. Now, this is in no way, shape, form, or fashion like anything about sobriety, right? People that take sobriety seriously, it's always good to see it. I'm 20 plus years sober. I had a friend, I know via the Streetport Card Show, made it, it's 20 plus years sobriety. You always love seeing that, right? I did stand up for a while. A lot of comedians, go through sobriety, and it's big for them. You're on the road. It's sad, depressing. You all the time gets paid in drink tickets. So the way you're compensated is free booze at the alcohol, which, as crazy as that sounds, it really how it is. Not so much a road comic, but like club spots. So drinking's big on the stand-up community. But, sobriety is a big deal for a lot of people. What's interesting for me is I have not had a sip of alcohol in forever, and I wasn't even trying to do that. Like, I really wasn't. Like, it's just something that I don't do. Like, I've not even thought about it. It's not that I made the decision to be sober or whatever, and I like drinking. I like having, getting a little buzz going, right? Responsibly. I think I had one at like an engagement party for a friend, but it wasn't really doing it for me. Like, I'm a fruity drink kind of guy. Like, I don't want to just drink stuff just for the sake of, let's get let's pour one down with the fellas. Okay. So I do not drink alcohol out of this Stanley Cup. It is Crystal Light. Or Kool-Aid. Sometimes it is Kool-Aid. All right. Now, I've made this joke before because I do drink this all the time. I want you guys to watch the Kool-Aid go through the straw. All right. And I want you to tell me what flavor Kool-Aid this is. All right. This lets me know. 2 Americas. Okay. We're going to get 2 different answers. All right. You're going to see the Kool-Aid flow through the straw. I need you, whoever you are right now, to tell me what flavor Kool-Aid is this. Okay. 3, 2, 1. All right. So you've seen it. Haley makes me one every night when I go on the live stream. It soothes my throat. What flavor Kool-Aid is that? And also drink alkaline water as well. Okay. All right. Ryan coming in hot. Cherry or strawberry? Okay. Okay. Yes. All right, let's keep it going. What flavor? Fruit punch, cherry or strawberry? All right, so when I made this comment years ago, this was one of my biggest like super chat donors. He still laughs about this. Okay. And by the way, Bama blood. I like that. I love it. Oh man. So it never fails. And that's what I love about my audience. And we got a very diverse audience. Of course, it's mostly male. We have a lot of female viewers as well. But, you get sent your analytics. But we do have a very diverse audience. All right. So it just depends on where you grew up. If you grew up one way, it was called fruit punch flavor or cherry or strawberry. And in other communities, okay, some people just call it red. It's just red. All right. And it just depends. It just depends on where you grew up. Okay. It is funny. Some is cherry and strawberry, and some is red. I grew up calling it red. I just always called it red. Okay. Oh man. No, I would call it fruit red. All right. Now, if you connected the two, you probably got that. But it there's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer. Red or fruit punch. Okay. So red, purple, blue. Oh, I love it. See, I grew up just calling it the colors. I didn't say like now of course orange is orange, but I didn't call it like if I had like Riptide Rush, which is like blue. I was like blue Gatorade. I just called it blue Gatorade. It's just blue. But I'll just call it Bama blood. I do love watermelon flavored things. But there you go. So Jeremiah is a red guy as well. There you go. It's red. I love it. I love it. Now, here's what we're going to do. But Cortland, the flavor doesn't matter. Sam, tell him the flavor doesn't matter. If it's red, the flavor is red. It's red. Okay. This is pink. All right. Even though it says berry, this is pink. This is pink. Oh man. I love it. So I always let you guys in on personal life. DJ'd a wedding yesterday. So I missed everything but the fourth quarter of Arkansas, Tennessee. And, it's tough. Like, I have you guys text me score updates, but I'm mostly focused on the task at hand, right? Doing my thing, spinning some mixes, having a good time, right? This is talked all the time. What about fall weddings? All right. Here is the hard part about fall weddings and this is honestly anything in the fall that you're planning for in the South. Yes, Wade, there's actually quite a few of them. And I'll get into that in just a second. The reason why it's so hard to schedule weddings in the South is because of college football, right? And I've had brides and people ask me about, hey, what do you think about fall weddings, right? We're thinking about getting married in the fall. And I always say, take a look at your demographic. If your family aren't football fans, then you don't have to worry about fall weddings. But understand that there's going to be some people there that are football fans that are going to want to watch a game on phones, right? And everybody watches games on phones now. People will go to actual live games and put other games on their phone. Okay. This happened at the wedding last night. And one thing I've learned is it's not so much that the wedding is locked in on football. It's the time of the kickoff that matters. If it's a morning kickoff, it has no bearing on the wedding at all. In fact, it's a really good thing for the wedding because it gives you something to do as groomsmen. Like you're just going to sit around, drink beers, watch your favorite team, and then, you get married later in the day. Can't ask for a better day. But if the game is on at night, everyone's thinking about that. Okay. Especially if it's like an upset-filled Saturday, right? So at the wedding yesterday, everybody was locked in Arkansas or Alabama Vanderbilt. And, it is what it is. Didn't take away from everyone having a good time, though. But there were, a group of people that were watching the game on their phones. You understand that risk. But part of what makes college football so jarring into our Southern culture is, Saturday is the big day of the week where we're able to get off and do something. For 3 months out of the year, it is consumed with college football. So think about that. That is a quarter of the year that is consumed by college football. And by the way, it's not only a quarter of the year, it's a quarter of the year that features the best weather of any time of year, which is right now. Best weather in the South is this, and football is being played. So there's outdoor music festivals, there's expos, there's children's birthday party. I mean, there's just so much stuff. Your own kids are playing their own sports in the fall season. So it's nearly impossible to schedule around college football in the South, but it still consumes everything. Like, it's amazing. Like, I have friends from SiriusXM that aren't even like NFL or college fans at all. Like, I had 2 different diehard sports fans skip out on watching college football altogether to go see the Joker last night. I'm like, how can you do that? But, the NFL just fits. Part of why the NFL is so much bigger than college football just fits in with our society so much more than college does, because the games are mostly played on Sunday, right? And it's a lot more uniform. The games are a little bit more even, whatever. But that's why fall weddings you have these issues, okay? But I mean, they'll see it in other avenues as well. Like, this was interesting in Fayetteville this weekend. So you had this absolutely positively ginormous game happen in Fayetteville this weekend. And one of my comedy buddies who lives in Northwest Arkansas scheduled a massive comedy festival. And it was really, really well attended and all that stuff. It's hard to pull that off in the fall in a college city when big-time college football is going down. So, yeah, you can do other events in the fall. Weddings, proms, school reunions are definitely pretty big in the fall. But understand that everyone's going to be watching college football. They want to go near a TV. They want to watch you in. Okay. So to Wade's point, it was brutal. You know, one thing that was brutal, imagine if you were a bachelorette party and you schedule your bachelorette weekend in Nashville. Hell, next thing you know, you see goalposts and thousands of college students taking over Broadway. The bachelorette party is like, what the hell is going? What are those football goalposts? What the heck? So that's not even a college football city. But yes, Wade, it was a brutal. I mean, it was such a big college football Saturday. But, you know, I honestly don't, especially if it's an LSU bye week, it's a little bit more manageable for me to, you know, DJ a wedding. A lot of my work is done, you know, previous to the wedding. And then when I get there, just get locked in. But it is amazing how many people just come up and just tell you scores. Or they have the game on their phone, they want to show it to you. And I'm like, I can't really look at it now. Wade said the city was burning. There we go, Nashville. I like Nashville. So yeah, Wade, I'll answer this question. We'll take a few more LSU-related questions. Or if you have another question, is there a song you always dread somebody requesting? Not really, Wade, because I am very bride-focused and groom-focused. So the way I do it, and different DJs do different things, I am not an elite spinner or mixer. I'm obviously trying to get to that level. It takes a while to get like unfreaking believably good at it. It's also harder to do it with like very popular pop music, to like blend everything in absolutely beautifully. But, you know, I have pretty good technique overall, all that stuff. But the bride and groom send me a list of songs, all right? And I then determine the order in which those songs are going to be played. Now, not all of them are going to get played. It's impossible, especially like bride and grooms that send me super long lists. The bride and groom yesterday was probably top 5 sweetest bride and grooms I've ever worked with. Young couple, very nice couple. End up knowing the father of the groom. I didn't know that till the day before the wedding. And they were just awesome. Just awesome people. And they their song list wasn't really that long, and they just basically trusted me to, you know, lead the way. Is there a song I dread? You want to know what's funny? First ever wedding I DJ'd, I went with a friend just to learn the process, because I started getting questions about DJing weddings. So like for the first like 2 years of my career, I really didn't I would book them, but I would book it with another actual wedding DJ. And the first ever wedding I did, there was a lady who kept screaming point blank into my face, "Please play Strawberry Wine" by Deanna Carter. And she would yell, "Strawberry Wine by Deanna Carter." And that is not a good song to play at a wedding. It's just not. Like, it's just not. I mean, is it a jam? Yeah, if you're a 90s country. And I have a client coming up that's a huge 90s country fan. So I'm really excited to play that song for her, because that's what the bride wants. But this was not a bride. This wasn't even somebody in the bridal party. They just kept requesting that song over and over and over. And we had a packed dance floor. Okay? No freaking way am I playing Strawberry Wine by Deanna Carter. So that was like kind of a one-time thing. Weddings are a little bit more request focused. It just is. Like, do I love them? Not necessarily, because sometimes it's not matching the vibes. There's you can't always just immediately play the next song unless it's the bride or groom. You're not going to go straight to the next song if it doesn't blend in with like the BPM key and kind of tempo of how the floor is looking at that moment. Honestly, the biggest key is just reading the room. You want that dance floor to be jammed. Now, sometimes the wedding parties are very conservative and they just want you to play songs and they just want to chill. You do a lot of those in the South, right? Actually, I say you do a lot of those. You don't really, I would say probably 1 out of every 5 or so is like that, where there's just not a lot of dancing. But 4 out of every 5, I mean, I got a pretty packed dance floor. But I DJ'd one of our PHL subscriber events. Brian Turner was there. He was in the chat. He helped me set up and do some stuff at the wedding, and I appreciate BT helping out there. And you can ask him. We had a freaking lit, and I mean lit, dance floor. This was interesting. Would I DJ a wedding in Nashville? I don't know. I know that wasn't your question, but that would obviously be a dream city because, celebrities could be there. Jelly Roll could show up. Then I'd be like, what the hell? I'd say, God, I need a favor. What kind of songs is Jelly Roll? Doesn't matter. I mean, their stadium's already in construction, so it actually kind of tied in. Y'all see Garrett Wilson today? He had 22 targets and got 100 yards out of that 22 targets. That is insane. Oh, let's go, Wade. He wants to keep the Ole Miss questions going. Let's do it. What is Lane Kiffin's game plan against our defense? All right. So if I'm Lane, well, I'm not going to do that. All right, here's what I'm going to do, Wade. I'm going to sidestep your question just a little bit. Okay. This has happened a lot more. I saw this happen to a Florida State YouTuber not too long ago. He's a very X's and O's heavy account. Okay. Obviously, I'm a very X's and O's heavy account. I don't know as much as he does, uh, but I do get accused of giving ammunition to the opponents. Like, do opponents watch all the other teams' YouTubers? I don't know. I couldn't tell you that at all. So I don't want to give any ideas out there. I doubt Lane Kiffin is using me for ideas, but I don't want to give the idea out there that I'm giving Lane Kiffin ammunition versus our defense. Because, let's be fair. We're gonna need every advantage we can get. Okay. One thing though that really is going to be key for us, and where I feel a lot more comfortable, is defensive end. We really, really, really struggled at DN. Okay. I think we're going to be in a lot better spot there to defend what Lane could do to defensive ends. All right. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay. All right. We're going to settle the correct flavor of punch here in a second. I know someone who has the ultimate say so. The guy, the guy's been rocking a thing. Let's go to our family jams. YouTube hasn't been recommending my videos to you. This is something else that you get quite a bit as a YouTuber. So why doesn't YouTube recommend stuff to you? I don't know. I trust you. There's people way smarter than me that control the YouTube algorithm. It is interesting because I do different types of videos. I'm not just a live stream channel. I do like pre-recorded videos. So sometimes I feel like I confuse the algorithm. Like, I don't know. But the live schedule, for the most part, stays the same. Okay. Sunday nights, we're normally live, not during the season, though. Normally, we're just doing a film study on Sunday nights. That might be changing soon, though. But we are live every Tuesday night at 8:15 Central. We are live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Central. And we are live every Thursday night at 5 p.m. Central. I work around those schedules because, I have other channels now where I have obligations there. So there you go. Let's go to fair. Let's go to weight, excuse me. What about defense? Is there a key weakness on their offense we can exploit? Yeah, I mean, the first thing is some feel that this Ole Miss defense hasn't necessarily played the absolute best, but I would strongly argue against it. The main thing that people say, though, is they've not really played a good offense just yet. And that's true. They've really not played a good offense yet. It's been a mixed bag, to say the least. Okay. TJ Watt, okay. But I think, Wade, one thing that'll be a little bit jarring for them is this LSU offense is so much better than all the other offenses that they played. Kentucky's offense really isn't that good. They've not been good all year. I think Bush Hamdan has done a really good job of scheming some things up. But, the one area where Ole Miss will be fine is, they've played some good receivers over the past couple of weeks. Like South Carolina's got good receivers. Kentucky's receivers are very underrated. It's just they've not played a quarterback like Garrett Nussmeier. Okay. I'm also going to be honest. I did not expect Brian Thomas to be as good as he was in year one. I thought he was going to be more of a year two guy. I thought Malik would be elite in year one. I thought Jaden would be elite in year one. I have plenty of receipts saying that. I did not think BTJ would be like a Pro Bowler, which is where he's kind of sort of at right now. He actually would be if Trevor wasn't so bad in these first couple of weeks. So it's interesting. All right. So I'm going to do something I normally don't do. And then we'll get in. Yeah. I will also say the Giants won today. Very interesting. I mean, the NFL is so week to week. Seahawks look good against the Lions offensively. And then today, without Malik, the Giants get it done. His size and speed are a problem. Is that really pause worthy? Okay. We'll have a guest on pretty soon to settle this debate. LeBron James and son officially playing an NBA game together. It's still insane. Did y'all see the coach run on the field after his quarterback got hit? Yeah, no, I did not say BTJ wasn't going to be a good pro. I honestly thought Malik Neighbors would step in and be top 10 receiver in the NFL. I think BTJ would have taken a year or two. He's already there. He is already there. Okay. So coming up in a moment, we will settle the debate. He has no idea that I am even referencing something he has talked about on stage. Comedian I've worked with quite a bit, even though I've been out of the game for a while. Okay. You're going to love him. We'll be on. Quick break. Right after this, let's go. Book your 360 spin booth experience today with Zion Imaging. Yes, that's my buddy Jaron Thomas who started this venture years ago. And look at the smiles on these faces. This state-of-the-art photo booth is so incredible. I work in the wedding and event industry, and anytime I see a 360 photo booth, it takes your event, whether it's a reunion, a wedding, a conference, no matter what it is, it takes it to another level. Give them a follow on Facebook. Book them today. There is a special deal going on now where you can get up to 40% off. This is all the info. Give them a call today, 318-469-4265, or go to Zion Imaging. That's XYAN Imaging.com. Home is where the heart is, and our friends at NOPOD Roofing really takes that to heart. 504-810-8744. Give them a call today for all of your roofing needs. And one of my favorite things about NOPOD Roofing is their versatility. They not only do roofing, they do siding, they do painting, they do tree removal, fencing, anything home improvement. Our friends at NOPOD will get you straight. Give them a call today at 504-810-8744 and let them know PHL and Carter the Power sent you. We never overpromise and always over-deliver with NOPOD, baby. Let's go. All right, special shout out to the nooffseason.com network. And let's bring in our guest. His name is comedian Nick Moore, is where you can follow him on TikTok. Nick and I, we go way back, man. I started about when you started, right?
Yeah, you might have started a little bit before me, but yeah, about the same time.
And you're still doing it. You're still crushing it. Where are you right now?
I'm actually in San Diego. So here, you're still in Louisiana, right? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. So here it's 2 hours ahead. So yeah, it's about 7:40 here. 7:45.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where are you performing now, or did you move out there? I don't know.
No, so I still have my apartment in Arkansas. I travel for work. So I was in Oklahoma City earlier this year. Then I came to San Diego this summer, and I've been here since June, July. I'm a travel nurse, so I bounce cities every 3 months. But
Okay.
I've been here going on 4 months now because I like it so much. So
all right. So we've been talking about, I normally don't talk about this on a football channel. We're talking about two Americas. Okay. So what I want you to do is, from your America, tell me what flavor I sip. Tell me what flavor this is I sip, and give me about 5 seconds of sippage, and I'm gonna let you.
Okay. Okay.
What flavor is that?
Red, obviously.
It's red.
Ooh.
It's red.
I have not done that joke in so long. I actually got a clip on my Instagram. It's maybe from like 3 years ago. I was in Little Rock and I did the joke like red, and somebody screamed from the audience, "Red's not a flavor." And then there's a back and forth with us going on about me explaining, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, well, what flavor is blue?" And I'm like, "Blue and sugar," and the whole crowd just falls out laughing when I say that.
Okay, but look, Ryan.
See, there it is, right there. There it is.
And I love Ryan. Ryan's one of my day ones, man. Cherry,
right there.
And then we get to Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Let me see Sam's profile picture. There it is.
There he is.
You are absolutely correct.
Yeah, I will tell you this, man. That is the hardest I've ever laughed at, like, because that was one of the first jokes you've ever told.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah. And I remember someone said, "Hey Carter, Nick's good. He started. What was your first year? What was your first year?
2016.
Okay, so that was my first year as well.
Yeah.
Hey Carter, there's a guy named Nick Moore, and he's funny, and you did that joke, and I never laughed so hard at like one of the first times I'd seen someone do stand up because it hit me like a ton of bricks. Because as you know, I got friends of all different backgrounds. All right.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a mostly white neighborhood. Okay. And I called it red. I called it the color. I called it red. And they were like, no, it's here. I was like, no, it's
red.
It's red. It's red. But when you said I had never, because I just love observational comedy, it hit me like a ton of freaking bricks that some people call it just by the color that they see.
Yes.
And then sometimes people get specific with the flavors.
I guess the thing was that there's always so many, like how your boy, he put cherry, he put strawberry, there's fruit punch. It's too many reds, so it's just red. Like it was always simple. So
and the funny thing is, Nick, so Epic Shorty in our chat is asked me, what do I drink? I've always drank red punch.
Yeah.
All right, fruit. My wife calls it. You know what my wife looks like.
Yeah.
She calls it fruit punch.
Yeah.
She calls it cherry, and I'm like, no, it's red. We've always had it. It's red. And it's so funny because I think about you every time I think about. I've told that joke a few times. I was like, I got to get Nick on here one time to explain it. So when did you first realize this? That some people, it's the craziest thing to me.
Well, I mean, growing up, I have to talk about Dermot on stage. So, it's the hood, it's the projects, all that good stuff.
Okay.
So you say red around people you grew up with, you don't think anything of it.
Yeah.
But then I moved to Little Rock. There's black people, there's white people, there's Little Rock's a melting pot for Arkansas.
Yeah.
You see people, they're like, wait, what'd you just say? And I'm like, red. And they're like, yeah, but that's the color of the. And I'm like, no, red has a taste. So I guess kind of when I started going to University of Arkansas or Little Rock, it's kind of where I learned like, oh, people take that serious. Like red, blue. Only flavor we actually use back home is orange, which is also the color. So
yes, we did. Yes. So when someone said orange a minute ago, it's like, well, we would have world peace if all the flavors were just orange. And there's all okay. So, I mean, there's so many jokes you've told that are crazy. So for people that don't know, like I used to book big shows in the town I did radio, and you freaking murdered one night, and you're opening for a freaking killer. You're on the Paul Varghese show, right?
Yeah, Paul. That's who it was. He actually was in Arkansas earlier this year, and
You're so loud.
She didn't like the fruit punch go, but keep going.
No, I was going to say Paul was actually in Arkansas earlier this year, and his opener asked me to come down there and open for him because I had met Paul before, but I just wasn't able to do it because I was already in California by then. But yeah, Paul was in Arkansas. It's like in June or July, I think. So
do they? Okay, so this is a good question. All right,
do they still make? And what's crazy? I know exactly what he's talking about because don't nobody know we don't know what the brand is. I don't know what the brand is, but I know the ones you talk about. I haven't seen them in years. You might have to go to like an old gas station off in the cut somewhere. Not in Walmart, for sure.
Right.
No.
Okay. This is okay. So was this the start of the Chappelle show? That purple stuff, was a lot of people's awakening to the color.
I remember that bit.
Okay.
I don't think it's on the Chappelle show. I think that's an actual joke, like on one of his specials.
Oh, okay.
But
I
I know
don't
what
remember
he's
the
talking
Chappelle
about.
joke. Yeah, I don't. You wouldn't know. Obviously, you love
Well,
Dave.
Chappelle in his special, he references like the Sunny D commercial. All the kids they run in the house. Oh, who wants some Sunny D? They open the refrigerator. It's a whole bunch of white kids. Then it's a black kid off to the side looking at the purple stuff in the jar. And that's Chappelle's whole bit. Like, so that black kid, he want that purple stuff. But if you watch the joke, it makes you Google the commercial. And if you look at the commercial on YouTube, it's people like, I'm here because of Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle sent me here. So yeah, that's an iconic joke.
Yes, I love it. So I remember one time you did a joke about now full disclosure, Nick is an actual still comedian. You cannot offend this guy. You've heard like
Yeah,
and especially like in the Little Rock scene where, nobody's really expecting to be famous. Like we really would rib on each other so bad. I mean, like that made my skin so thick. Like just being around like Big Dre, all those guys, D, all the ribbon and stuff like that. God, dude, your on the border joke is still so legendary.
I've actually expanded on that so many times. Like, and you remember the part about on the board at Cracker Barrel, but that joke is just taking a life of its own. I think from start to finish, the bit is probably like 3 or 4 minutes long now. But just
Okay,
yeah.
so here's what we're gonna do. Do you have a clip of it somewhere?
On Instagram, yeah, not on YouTube. It's all on Instagram.
Okay, well, here's what I need you to do. All right.
Okay.
When you get off of here, send me the link to the Instagram because I don't want you to explain the joke. I want people to actually go see it in a stand-up setting. Like there, it's so good. It's S tier comedy.
Yeah, I'll copy and paste the link when I get off, and so you can just share it with them.
Yeah, I'll just share it down below.
Yeah.
But Nick, I won't keep you too much longer. Thank you for spending some time. I didn't know you were in San Diego, so it worked out for the better.
Oh yeah, I'm wide awake out here, man. But yeah, it's always good to hear from you, man. We miss you in Little Rock for the longest. I'm not in Little Rock anymore, but
I didn't even know you weren't there anymore. I'm serious.
Yeah, well, I'm still got my apartment. When I'm back home, I still do shows. But since I've been on the road, this the longest I've been away from Little Rock. It's been 4 months now. So
yeah, and funny thing about it was for those that don't know, so Nick was on a show, and there was there was another guy who went on after you, LaRon, who was really good. But Paul Varghese is probably as good at like a headliner who no one knows who he is, but he's like, that's someone you never want to follow. So like he had opened for Dave Chappelle once, but his main opener all the way up until she died was Joan Rivers. So everyone.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was Joan Rivers' opener. And, I was going to be his ticket to fame. She died. So, and I remember like he murdered, like he just absolutely.
Oh yeah. He was like, well, no, go ahead.
But you went up and dude, there was people that were texting me like, dude, that Nick Moore guy was funny too.
I remember you told me for the longest, like people from your hometown was like, hey, that Kool-Aid joke, that's really funny.
That Kool-Aid joke, dude.
Like 2 years later. No, Carter, I used to love your shows. Like I love doing it. I used to love like you did one in Arkansas one time.
Yeah. It's fun, man. I miss being on stage, man. But tell people where they can find you, man. Obviously, Nick Moore on TikTok, but Instagram is where it's at. Or what is it now?
Everything is Nick Moore. Well, I use Instagram the most, and then TikTok after. But and then my YouTube. I'm getting my YouTube right. It's work in progress. Oh no, you're on the TikTok. That's the TikTok right there.
Yeah, TikTok. Yeah.
So that at name right there, comedian_Nick M. That's the TikTok name. That's also the Instagram name. Yeah.
21,000 followers. Look at you putting in the work, man.
I've been trying. TikTok is so weird with the following. I like having TikTok followers, but I think the Instagram and the Facebook's a little more important. Oh yeah, Travel Nurse. Yeah. There it is right there.
There you go. Oh, they want me to start a PHL. I might do one, and you be the headliner.
If you do that, I will go to Louisiana just for that. No questions asked.
Dude, What do you think you can do an hour now? Are you
Oh
at you're at an hour level now?
Yes, I can. Now I'm not gonna just act like, oh, I'm like the big headline, but like I've been doing for the last like year and a half. I've been doing longer sets. I've been doing 30s, 45s. I'm trying to
Nice.
build up that time. So
It's funny.
I'm,
Like
in
it's
8 years, I'm where I need to be. So
yeah, no, I'm not
yeah,
doubting you can't do an hour. I would hope
yeah.
you could do an hour because I mean you were good right out of the gate. But your funny was just different than other people's funny. You take joke writing like very seriously,
Oh
and
no.
I did not take it serious enough.
I
But I
mean,
hate
Carl, I still enjoy just. You know what's crazy? No matter how many, when I hear that Backstreet Boys song, I immediately go into your set
oh God.
because
I
you used to always open with it. So
yeah,
it's like,
dude, it's so cringe now. I went back and watched like me opening with that, and I'm like, that is the
I,
most cringe shit. Like it's
I
just so
mean,
cringe.
you're gonna think that anyway, because as you progress in life, you look back, dang, I used to say that. But to people who aren't you like me, it's like I'm like everybody. Then I start going, oh yeah, your old ass remembers that, don't you? I start doing the whole bit when I.
Yeah, dude, I wait. So what is this shirt? Enough about me. What it Powder Puff
Oh
Boys?
no, it's not Powerpuff Girls. It's the Rowdy Rough Boys. Like, remember the episode where they had like boy
Yes.
clones?
Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and they was like, whooping them the whole episode. Yeah, that's who they are.
Why do you have a sweater of that?
Dude, because I'm about to go out to eat and I just needed a hoodie. But if you're asking why I bought it, is because my girlfriend watches Powerpuff Girls at night. Like, she
Ah.
just puts it on loop. So I just kind of fell in love with the cartoon.
Okay. Good.
So
I uh that is such a random thing though. That one it finally clicked to me that one episode. Uh,
yeah, yes.
but there you go, Nick Moore. So send me in Messenger the Instagram link and I'll post it down below. I will tell you this. If you're easily offended, do not go watch the On the Border joke. Don't go watch it. It's not for you. Okay. But I'm just warning you. And look, I'm putting my brand that welcomes everybody in on risk alert here because it might not be for you. Okay. It's funny though. I think
Yeah.
it's funny. And everyone knows it's hard to make me laugh.
I'm gonna link it to you. I will.
Link it. All right,
Yeah,
Nick. We'll
of
talk soon,
course.
brother.
All right, Carter. Good hearing from you, man.
All right, buddy. Thank you. It's red all day, baby. Let's go. All right, bud. Oh man, that was so good. That was so good. And I wanted that because I've made that joke a few times because I do drink red Kool-Aid or red Crystal Light or whatever. Fruit punch. I don't know why I always called it red though. I don't know why. I don't know why I did. I don't know. Maybe growing up I did say fruit. I don't know. But that'll do it for me. Special thanks to Nick Moore, our guest tonight. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. I'll link down below Nick's Instagram. Once again, if you want to see the joke, check it out for yourself. And yeah, Jared still batting 1,000. Like it's always kind of a risk when you're just kind of. I've not talked to Nick in probably. It's been 2 years since I've talked to him, and comedians were just able to click again. It's just how it is. I felt like I didn't lead him well at all. But he did open up for a Stone Cold Killer and did really well at my show. I was very impressed. And I think it was only like 3 years in. But Paul Verghese is also a really funny guy too. Go check him out. He's actually really, really good stand-up. Definitely top 5 comedians I've ever done a show with. Everybody. Go Jaden Daniels. It is. Power hour. LSU. Boom. And tonight we are doing lemon pepper chicken wings. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, one more thing. Big thanks to Epic Shorty, S. Young, Jason, Jared, Sibley, William. Wait, thank you guys so much. And tonight, we're doing lemon pepper chicken wings. Let's go. Let's go.